Peace, 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 family. Hope all is well. Hope everybody's doing good out there. I hope your family's well and good health. So today is July 22nd, 2020. Today's topic will be the currency of belief and how it relates to what we call money. The currency of belief and how it relates to what we call money. So we all have the power of the mind and how it extends to things that exist and doesn't exist. So when it comes to money now, when we're born, we don't know anything about money or currency, right? The currency that's given to us. Debit cards, credit cards, Federal Reserve notes that we use to exchange with, right? Barter with. But as we take on the imprint of the society and what our parents were imprinted with, they tell you that this is part of the survival imperative. It's imperative that you have this in order to trade or to exchange or to barter, right? So within these things, the mind begins to yield to that belief. And whatever the mind believes, it is so. Even if it's not an objective reality, it exists. Just because we lend or extend the reality to it, the concept, right? So the Federal Reserve note, the debit card and the credit card is really a concept. No child born into this world knows anything of it until it's introduced to it. In that introduction, you now understand that your survival is rooted in that introduction. So the introduction now becomes cemented and it becomes fully imprinted in your survival, right? And so when it comes to fight or flight impulses, when it comes to survival, when it comes to how you're going to make it in this world, you know, we will do whatever it is or merge into the lane that was given to us according to what we believe now, because we believe that this is how we have to survive. And this in itself gives money its power. Money in itself has no power other than the power that we lend to it, right? But we do see the outcome and results of when we make a purchase or when we buy something. In the hood, we call it copping something. Yo, son, I copped that, right? But in reality, you exchanged a debit card, a credit card, right? A money order, right? Now it's cryptocurrency. You have different forms of units of exchange that you can use for barter, right? For things that you either want or need. But it starts in the mind. All the human beings have to agree that this is what we're going to use to exchange with. But the agreement comes from yielding to the occupying force that controls the land and controls how things are going to exchange from one person to the next person, right? That's called commerce. It's how resources and services are traded between people, right? And so we use the unit of exchange that's given to us, but in order for that to be a reality, you have to believe it, right? And that belief starts young. When you're a child and your parents teach you the value of $1, and you take that dollar and they send you into the store and they tell you, make sure you get the right amount of change, right? That change that you get, when you see what it is that you actually went to buy or exchange that for, and you now obtain it and then you get the change back, that begins to become hardwired in your neural circuitry, right? And so you now begin to fall into that paradigm of using the unit of exchange for barter. And we call it purchasing, we call it buying things, right? This is part of economics, and it's part of your day-to-day survival. So doing it every day will always cement these things and make it strong and make it a reality. And it's a reality that can't be ignored. Why? Because your survival is rooted in it. But here's the question. If we all decided to trade differently than how we've been taught to trade, would that still be money, right? Is it a reality that we're born with, or is it something that's imprinted in us? I call it imprint vulnerability, because you're vulnerable at a very young age to whatever the society says goes, especially when it's linked to your survival. So now your survival, fight or flight impulses, the need for access, the need for acquisition, the need to buy or cop something will make you yield to that concept. but the concept is still rooted in the fact that you believe it. It needs your consent and belief in order for it to exist, right? So the currency of belief extends to the concept of the reality of money. But money in itself does not have any power. It brings you things of power, which is raw materials, natural resources, and services that you might need, right? It puts you in a situation where you're able to commit to multiple transactions per day, right? Today is July 22nd, 2020. July 20th of 2020, 2 days ago, Jeff Bezos, Amazon man, CEO, he just made $13 billion in one day. I'm gonna repeat that. He made $13 billion in one day, right? I want you to marinate, I'll give you 5 seconds to think about how much income that is to create the outcome of transactions. I'll give you 5 seconds. Think about what your intrinsic value is at your job. I know I think about it at my job. Yes, I do have a regular job. I'm not independent where I'm independent of the system like that, right? But how you get your income to create your outcome and how you pay your bills is on you, and it's personal to you and you only. That's why it's called personal finances. But the reality of it is still rooted in the currency of belief. So I think the human being is the first currency, because the mind, the extension of the mind lends or the reality to the concept that we call money, that we call trade, that we call barter, right? So without the mind, these things wouldn't exist. It's how we survive and how we bring things that we need to us, right? But I think the bigger question is, you can't use yourself as the currency and throw yourself on the counter and say, listen, I'm going to trade me. I'm going to use me as the currency to trade for that. It doesn't work that way. So you have to use the medium of exchange. So before the medium of exchange, what I call indirect barter, you had what's called direct barter. Direct barter is when I trade you this shirt for your shoes. That's direct barter. There's no middle thing making us agree to trade, right? Indirect barter means that somebody is printing up or producing the medium of exchange that's being used for trade and barter to go on. And then we all agree to it. It's the agreeing part. It's the acquiescing part that makes it exist. But it doesn't exist on its own. You gotta get that. So the currency of the mind is a powerful thing, because whatever you believe, it exists, even if it's not real, right? Because we actually can trade on this planet without that, but we would actually have to agree to that belief in order for that to happen, and that's a whole nother topic. But this topic is how powerful our minds can make something exist when we believe it, right? If I told you last year in 2019 that we will all be wearing masks outside, right? Some form of mask to protect you from an invisible enemy, quote unquote. That's what the media calls it. You would have said I'm crazy. But the media put out what they put out. You see people dying around you, so the fear alone, the need to survive makes you believe it. And we all mask up. The majority of us anyway, right? Some of us have problems breathing with the mask. I'm one of them. I wear it, but I wear it sparingly, you know what I'm saying? I don't knock nobody. You do what you have to do to protect you. Because I can't protect you at the end of the day. All I can do is protect me and my air passageways and my lungs, right? Okay. So that's also a currency of belief. So if enough people believe that there's an invisible enemy out there, the whole planet is wearing masks right now. But in 2019, 2018, if I told you that this can happen, you'd told me I was crazy. So if you could get enough people to believe a concentrated attention in one concept, it exists. Thus, the concept of trading through the unit of exchange called money exists. And it creates haves, have-nots. Whoever has or is the custodian of a bulk of it, the majority of it in their bank account, or in the stock market, or however their investments flow in their safe, they have the ability to trade more than the person who's the have-not. They have the ability to do wealth calcification, intergenerational wealth. These people over here don't, right? It's deep when you really look at it. And it's all rooted in belief, right? It's so powerful how the mind is. So the currency of the mind is the topic. And it's just something for you to think about, whether you agree or disagree. Think of your addiction or entanglement versus someone else's entanglement. What brings you happiness in your entanglement, the other person is like, nah, I don't know why you so caught up in that. And then you look at their entanglement, you're like, damn, I don't know why that's that serious. And even if you have the same entanglement, right? Or attachment with the entanglement, rather. Let's say I start a new job and I smoke stogies. Mad people outside smoking stogies. More than likely, I'm gonna make friends immediately because we have a common ground. That common ground is gonna create the plateau or the platform for other conversations to open up, right? Because we share a certain concept together or an attachment that we're both entangled to, right? And that's the currency of the mind again. These attachments can't happen without the currency of the mind. The money doesn't exist without the currency of the mind. The stogie don't exist without the currency of the mind. All is mind and mind is all, right? So with that being said, I just really wanted to build on that topic real quick to understand your mind, how it works, how it lends and extends reality to concepts outside of it, and then becomes entangled with it and then attached to it. And now it's hard to break that attachment. We call that attachment addictions, right? The world is an addiction based on the currency of the mind. You can't, the addiction needs the currency of the mind to exist. I'm gonna say that again. The addiction needs the currency of the mind to exist. It's not the other way around. The mind don't need the addiction. The addiction needs the currency of the mind to exist. Money needs the currency of the mind to exist in order for trade and economics to go on. Think about that, right? And I'll close on that. Let your last endeavor be your best endeavor. Let your last endeavor be your best endeavor. And I'll close on that. Peace.